He is doing so with intelligence and diligence. Nobody's working harder than this guy. He is making all the right moves in terms of playing a bad hand. And what we need to be doing is making sure that we are providing him the support that he needs in order to work through all these problems so that we're able to deal with them more effectively in the future.
President talking about Tim Geithner? You're kidding. He doesn't even have his staff yet. Deputy chiefs. There's like nobody in the Department of Treasury. Well, what support is he giving him? And by the way, I wouldn't give him support. I'd sack him. But then the President of the United States in Southern California on a tour there made probably one of the more ridiculous statements of all time. He compared Tim Geithner to, get this, Alexander Hamilton.
I have complete confidence in Tim Geithner and my entire economic team. I understand, as I said before, Tim Geithner didn't draft these contracts with AIG. There has never been a Secretary of the Treasury, except maybe Alexander Hamilton, right after the Revolutionary War, who's had to deal with the multiplicity of issues that Secretary Geithner's having to deal with, all at the same time.
Dani Babb, Dean of Business at Andrew Jackson University. I just didn't realize we had somebody basically walking in the footsteps of Alexander Hamilton. The guy hasn't even been in office 60 days.
Yeah, he's probably parting water here on the Hudson River, I'm looking at as well.
Now,
it's incredible.
Dani, could I ask you a question? Because I may have gotten into a little hot water. I know the Secret Service protects the president and the vice president. You can't even make jokes about their health and welfare. But I, for the good of the American people, want to be Aaron Burr to Tim Geithner's Alexander Hamilton. I want to row Tim Geithner out to Weehawken, and at 50 paces with pistols, let the best man walk away. And I'll be willing to do natural life without parole to take this guy out.
Well, he was the start of many problems, so I can't blame you there. I was just reading not too long ago about his interest this coming week about buying even more mortgage-backed securities and expanding TARP, and he wants to include the illiquid assets, those that we know we can't sell right now, just to really help out the banks. So I think we're going to be in for a real treat in the next 7 days.
Now, did you hear Liddy's testimony today up on the Hill?
I heard some of it. I've read most of it.
Okay, your response to the CEO of AIG at his inquisition.
I thought he handled himself fine. I think that the entire parade was ridiculous. I think that you cannot expect a company to take money from the government and then tell them that they can't keep on their best talented people. The 90% executive tax, most people don't realize that executive is actually being defined as anyone who made $250,000 or more, including their bonus. And I'm sorry, but I worked in IT for about 12 years, and I had network engineers that made $250,000, including their bonus. And it's not their fault that their CEO took money from the government. It wasn't even this guy. And quite honestly, I thought it was a charade, a parade for politicians, and pretty ridiculous.
Oh, there's no question. But when, in this particular case, Liddy tells us that the retention bonus is so that you can keep hundreds of employees from leaving AIG, say to myself, and Dani, where are they going to go in this economy? There's nobody hiring out there. Where are they going to market their skills?
Well, that's an excellent point. Most of the people I know in this business are actually starting their own business now because they can't get a job anywhere else. I see vacated condos here like crazy in Manhattan because people are leaving the company and they can't get a job anywhere here. That is a very good point. But I did agree with him on one thing, and that was that there are some skills within the organization from these people that are going to be very hard to replicate, and if they want this organization to survive, sometimes you need some of the historical context. And in some sense, some of these people will provide that.
Yeah, but you see, I think the same reason we're stuck with Tim Geithner as Treasury Secretary is the same rationale that Liddy, CEO of AIG, used for keeping on a lot of the executives. He went on the record, I don't know if you saw it in the copy, the reason we need to retain some of these executives is they're the only ones who know what happened, how these crazy deals were put together. They're the only ones who would know how to disassemble them without the entire company sliding into the abyss. And on Geithner's part, he was in the room when the decision was made to bail out the banks, the financial institutions, and AIG. Paulson, Cox, Geithner, Bernanke. Geithner is the only holdover who knows everything that was done initially, and I think that's the only reason he is the Treasury Secretary.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more on that point, because I am very concerned that there's so much hidden in this entire market we don't know about yet, that there's some protection occurring here to make sure that the person who helped build the disaster can disassemble it very, very carefully and very quietly. I don't think he's going to be successful in doing that, and I do think we're going to start to see some of that unravel here in the next few weeks.
Okay, now, from what you have studied in that stimulus package that nobody could read because it was just shoved down everyone's throat, who is responsible for the change of language that did not hold these bailout companies responsible for pulling these retention bonuses?
Who is responsible for not pulling the retention bonuses?
Correct.
That is an excellent question. I have read several hundred pages. It is absolutely not clear. It's not clear where the money is going. It's not clear where the money has been spent. It's not even clear which executives or which individuals kept the money or got the money. We do know that the money was spent right before it had to be reported to the government, which is obviously a big concern for fraud purposes. I have not read anything that indicates where the money went, how it was spent, how it was allocated, or who got it.
All right, let's go to the Sheriff of Wall Street, self-appointed Mr. Countrywide Mortgage himself, U.S. Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut.
There were many who were highly critical of the Dodd Amendment on executive compensation, excessive compensation. I find it ironic that the very people who were critical of me putting that bill in a month and a half ago are now being critical, saying we went too far.
So Dodd today is blaming the administration. Really, he's blaming Geithner and Treasury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he's blaming Geithner and Treasury probably for political reasons. I don't think that's the case. I mean, this happened some time ago, first of all, and second of all, the organizations are going to make the decisions in terms of where they need to spend their capital and who they need to keep on, and I think that's what they're doing. So I tend to disagree with my party in this particular case. I don't think that we should be capping anything. I don't think we should be spending the money to begin with, and when we do, I don't think we should expect the companies to be responsible for it, to be responsible with it. They were never responsible to begin with shareholder value. Why would they be responsible with government and taxpayer dollars? Why we shouldn't give it to them from the beginning?
But Dani Babb, we've been told first by the chairman of Bank of America that he cannot give the names of those in the acquired Merrill Lynch firm who got those last-second government-funded bonuses. We now have Liddy basically saying the same thing. And in fact, listen to the exchange he had with Congressman Barney Frank.
Sir, I will, if I can be absolutely assured that they will remain confidential.
I do ask that you submit those names without restriction, and if you feel unable to do that, then I will ask the committee to subpoena them.
Now, why should they remain confidential? First of all, it's public monies. It's a publicly traded company. Why would we not have the right to know who's made the bonuses?
Well, I think I actually agree with the CEO here. I know this is counter to what I would generally believe, but in this particular case, because of the way the government has defined executive bonuses, it's not just executives. So we're not talking about releasing the names of 6 people. We could be potentially talking about releasing the names of thousands of employees that were making $250,000 a year, including their bonuses, that then could be the subject of. I've been reading it in blogs all day. AIG people, not even executives, employees being attacked personally, being
Dani,
harassed on the street.
Dani,
I don't think that's the right. That's the way it happens.
Dani, slow down a second. Let me take you from the corporate suites to the streets. We have in the states of America, in many states, Megan's Law. I can go onto a state registry on my computer and see pedophiles, tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, who live in my neighborhood. I see where they live. I see their faces. We do not have citizens showing up every day outside of their house with pitchforks and ready to burn them out and ready to basically strip the skin from their skeletal features. This nonsense that people are going to be chasing them. First of all, they live in upper middle class, wealthier areas. It's not going to happen. That's a specious, bogus argument that it's for safety reasons.
But in this case, you're comparing someone who committed an egregious act against a child to an employee that just simply got a bonus, and I don't think that's necessarily that an employee signed up for.
Well, what is it?
If I were the employee, I'd rather give the bonus back.
Well, good.
And if I were and give it back to the government and protect myself and my family. If I were the employee,
there's nothing that's going to happen to their families, and if they truly believe that they are right in taking these bonuses, even though it is now comprised of taxpayers' money, not corporate money, then let them stand up and be counted. Let them be proud. Let them explain why they deserve it. Why are they so feckless and weak? Why do they have to hide anonymously? Like, in America, you have a right to stand up and defend yourself. They're not defending themselves because I think they understand they're wrong. They're wrong for taking the money under these conditions.
But if you have an employee, let's say you have an IT worker that's managing a server that made $250,000 including their bonus. That employee didn't know that all of this BS was going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but Danny, you know, if they had gone Chapter 11, those bonuses would have been out the door. The only reason they still have a job now is because of the bailout.
But do you honestly think that some of those IT workers or HR employees would think that their name would be released to the public in a couple of weeks just because they got a bonus?
Well, you act like getting a bonus is like, my God, people get bonuses all the time. Baseball players, we see the bonuses. A-Rod gets paid $25 million. He shows up in April. He disappears in October. He walks around town.
We're not talking millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of these employees were $150,000 salaried employees,
Danny,
and then they got 30% in HR compensation and a bonus. And I don't think they deserve to be under public scrutiny in any case.
No empathy or sympathy for them, and this is just a bogus issue. But on that note, we're going to have to agree to disagree. Dani Babb, author, Dean of Business at Andrew Jackson University. So she's an author. So the Gavone, Frank Morano puts down she's an author. What is she an author of? What's the purpose of that? Does that make any sense? 1-877-CURTIS and number 8. That's 1-877-287-8478.
The accidental startup.